this is going to separate the winners and the losers within 5 years. I think 2 years, people that don't have an AI first initiative are going to be struggling. Within 5 years, I think most of them are going to be out of business. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Alex Hayes Podcast. I am Alex Hayes. With me today is a special guest, Benedetto Bergamaschi. He is a 16-year veteran of go-to-market strategies across 4 continents. He's been diving deep into AI and AI initiatives. He worked for big tech platforms enabling high data analytics. He's also an angel investor in another legal AI first initiative, as well as now launching his own company into AI first applications for businesses. So, Beto, he is here today to share his knowledge, his insights. We're going to have a great conversation around AI, what the future means. So stick around. This is going to be worth your time. Beto, thanks so much for being here.
Alex, nice to see you again, and good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. This is going to be fun. Let's talk about everything. AI is on everybody's mind right now, right? And there's so many people right now selling different, call them plugins, right? Hey, plug in, automate your content creation, automate your sales pipeline, automate this, automate that, right? What do you see as the risk in businesses and for business owners today of just kind of going out there and buying all these things a la carte off the shelf versus looking at a strategy? Like what should owners really be paying attention to, and like what's noise versus what's signal?
So there is a lot of noise, and the risk is that you're going to go and buy 6 different tools. They're all just solving one small problem, not even the pain point, but just one small problem. But they're not going to provide you a solution. So the first thing to do is to stop and think of what you really need. And from there, understanding where you want to go, what you want to really automate. Because right now, AI allows you to automate many things on your daily tasks, but it doesn't really solve the bigger picture or the bigger problem of, okay, where you want to go as a business, what you want to do as a business.
I love that answer because that's exactly what I've been focusing on writing my book. And I talk about it, and I describe it as creating your own passage plan. You have to create waypoints. You have to know what's your final destination, and then build your route backwards from your destination point. Because if you don't know where you're trying to get to as a company, then you're just going to end up sailing in circles. So I think we're very much in agreement with that point. The danger is getting sucked into sales conversations too early with people that are trying to sell you a solution looking for a problem.
Correct. And the idea is also, if you don't know where you're going, you risk to, like most of the AI tools right now, there is to bubble up a lot of ideas or fake ideas, and you're going to get lost into the so many solutions they can provide. Now, once you have a clear idea of the B, where you are going, all of a sudden you will see that AI then allows you to have different alternatives or look at things from a different angle. But of course, you need to keep in mind where is your B. You need to know where you want to go. Then you can leverage certain AI. You need to pick the ones that you really want to work on and understand which are the ones that are really providing the solution in order to really get the best out of them.
Absolutely. So let's bring this back then. How, from your perspective, what do you see AI is good at versus what it's not good at in today's terms? I know it's getting better exponentially, but like, where is it at today?
So nobody will know where we're going to be in 12 months. But what we can know today is there are 2 things that AI can really do well. One is the immediate term. So today, if you have a very repetitive task, or you need to go and look for X amount of things out of the net, AI can really fast track that. So whatever is a very repetitive task, you can automate that. You can substitute that with AI, and you can increase the quantity without losing quality. Okay, in terms of what you can produce. The second big element is the long term. So going back to the point of where is my B, where am I going? AI can really help you to shape or to define better the details of your B or where you want to go as a strategy. What AI right now cannot do really is the midterm. You don't know where we're going to be in 12, 24, 36 months with this. And right now, there is not a platform or a tool or something that is able to lift and shift and completely replace a department, for example. An entire business process. It can be an entire supply chain, can be an entire sales motion. It doesn't exist right now there. Okay. So that's where each individuals or owner of a company, owner of a business, what they should think is, okay, given that I cannot replace an entire department, I cannot replace an entire business process because it would not make sense right now. That it doesn't exist. But what can I automate for real? How can I improve my efficiency in the short term, and how can I improve my visibility in the long term? That's the two key elements that a business owner or a C level should be looking at.
So looking at where it can speed up some of those repetitive tasks and the repetitive motions, right?
Today,
That
yes,
that's
right
the
now.
lowest hanging fruit right now
Yeah,
is trying to get, so if you're somebody that does market research a lot, right? You create your AI agentic workflows to scan the web,
yeah.
scan the
So
web.
I can bring you some examples. Every morning, 8:45, I have 4 agents running 4 different activities. One is just generic market information on what happened on the specific competitors or companies that I'm following, and I need to know the details of that. So it brings me all the articles, or everything has been moving in that world. I have another agent, for example, for me that reads my email and draft all the answers, given the backlog potentially I have. I have another agent that goes and start chasing for potential new leads. And then I have another agent that's qualifying those leads. So that when I wake up, when I come to the office, I open up my laptop, I have few different points of, instead of me going around and chasing all those elements, they're already preset for me. So instead of me wasting an hour and a half going or 2 hours going to look for this information, the information is already there. I just open up the laptop and few files are all there available for me to read. And then I all stored in specific folders that I have in my laptop. And we go from there. So you keep the history, and every day you have they are managing you up, basically.
I think that those are really good examples of where it's at right now, what it's capable of, and say like where are those time savings right now? Because at the end of the day, AI is supposed to save you time, and I I don't think we're there where people are actually using it efficiently, and we're not. We're basically using it as a thought partner. So the time put into AI is actually either a one for one or even working backwards. What I think people are actually spending more time trying to figure out how to use the AI or how to talk to the AI because they don't know where they want to lead it. I think that to me is probably one of the biggest issues that this next generation of business owners is going to face is learning how to lead AI because AI is not a great it's not a great leader. It's a great manager of tasks, but it's not really a great thought partner of or a leadership partner that you can rely on. You can create everybody's like, well, I created a CTO folder on my my desktop, and I've got my CMO guy and I've got my CEO guy, and this is all great. Everybody's gonna, these guys are my advisors. I've got like the biggest names are all feeding me information, but at the end of the day, they can only regurgitate back what it thinks that you're looking for. So if you don't know how to lead it, people are going to have either bad data, wrong data, or just plain just plain fabrications because it's going to give you something. It has to. It wants to make you happy. What do you when I say that and describe that problem, like do you think this is something people need to be aware of?
The Definitely yes. So whenever we are creating an agent, or we're working with AI, AI is based on certain principles. In order to be good at repetitive tasks, you need to give them the input, the output, the guardrails. So they are very static elements at today. If your business model or if your thoughts process or if your idea changes in the next 2 weeks, that same MD, the name is in AI terms, needs to change, needs to adjust. So all of a sudden, you become the project manager of the agent itself. So your role becomes, you need to be managing those principles, those inputs and output, and the way you want things to be looked at or worked on or written. Okay, in order for them to be up to speed with your mind. So in there is a nice term that um, is very well used, common in the space right now, which is, I want to create my second brain. But even the second brain, AI cannot think the way we think. AI doesn't have yet, into bracket, emotions. Doesn't have yet the spirit of creativity of, I want to get to the moon. I want to go to Mars. I want to build a new notebook. It doesn't have yet the purpose of where you want to go, what you want to do. So even this second brain is nothing else than the sum of elements of yourself. So you decide as an individual and or as an organization, then the entropy is even bigger, what you want the machine to know of you and how much of you it needs to know, or you want the machine to know. So all of a sudden, you understand that if I'm an individual, it needs to know how I think. If I write articles, for example, your book, maybe you want to make your machine reading the book to know how you write, what you think, what's your thought process. So you need to nurture this second brain. But even if you're going to nurture with everything you have in mind, if in 2 weeks you're going to change, if tomorrow morning you wake up and you think this cup is not black anymore, but is yellow,
Yeah.
you understand you need to go back and tell this cup now is yellow. That's where is a static knowledge versus a dynamic knowledge. Now, you can improve that, but the entire model right now is not made to be dynamic, to evolve every day, and is not wired yet to your head. So this is an individual level. Now, think this organizational level. And I want to go back to your point where you said, well, what business owner is supposed to do? What the next generation of businessmen and women should think of this and how to leverage AI. Well, if you go from an individual to an organization at the end of the day is a sum of individuals and a sum of processes. So unless you have all your processes mapped out, and unless you have really the brain of the company, which is technically the C-level or the key strategic people in the company, they are constantly reviewing those principles, you understand there is a big risk of fragmentation, of having multiple small agents, maybe attached to each individual person of the company. They are not really collaborating each other or they're not really going towards the same direction as the C-level wants. So there is entire digital or AI change management exercise to do of, okay, maybe we should set up AI principles or AI MDs for the entire organization so that everybody who is using it, and maybe we're going to give the freedom to people to use their own agents, at least understand where we're going, what we need, what's the input, what's the output, what's the guardrails, and then. If there is no coordination from the top, there is a big risk of just a chaotic universe of things happening, but they're not really going to the B that we discussed at the beginning of this conversation, Alex.
Yeah. No, 100%. And this is exactly, I think, the issues that business owners face today, but AI just supercharges them, right? So you can get always like before AI, you can kind of get away with some of that inefficiency because everybody else is inefficient, right? Everybody else is playing off the same playbook of inefficiency as they're trying to figure out their processes as they're going from, call it 2 million to 10 million, as they're trying to scale up between that mark. And it was okay because that was status quo, but the status quo is changing so fast that AI is going to be leaving people behind that are not adapting to exactly what you're saying and what I'm writing about in my book of process documentation, systems, workflows. But you still have to know that big picture of where are you trying to get to? What are all the efforts? What's the sum of all the parts? What are they all building towards? And how do we know we have achieved success? AI is not going to tell you if you've achieved success. It's going to tell you your workflow is being managed. That's all it could do is your workflow is being managed. But the goals and the success criteria needs to be defined specifically with both quantifiable metrics as well as a date and time so that you know that you're on pace towards your destination. Without that, you're just basically managing tasks and you're going to be busy for busyness sake, but you may not and probably not actually advancing your business goals. So I think this is something that is going to be huge in the future. And like it's already big right now, but people aren't aware of it. But over the next 2 years, leading AI is going to be its own skill set. And like you're saying, business owners, C suites, VPs, there's a prerequisite to being a leader at a company is going to be good communication. It really all kind of comes back to communication. And most people are just not taught how to communicate thought clearly enough. And this is where a lot of friction comes from.
Yeah, and honestly, very good point, because more than ever, the alignment of heads, it's extremely important now. So the fact that everybody knows where we're going, nobody's just rowing half of the power he can, or is not rowing at all, or maybe he's rowing a different direction. Right now, more than ever, it's extremely important to have crystal clear and communicate that all the heads needs to know where we're going and how we are doing it. Then AI, as you said, manage everything up, can increase the amount of quantity data we need, can provide us even more insights about specific things, but will never really decide for us how you should go to be now. Can suggest 10,000 bees. At the end of the day, it's going to be the heads that needs to say, we are all aligned. Yes, we go there. And that's going to be more important than ever, because otherwise you got lost in this avalanche of things that happen every day. There is a new thing happening, a new startup, a new tool, you get lost. You got completely lost. So it's extremely important to know where you're going and to be aligned with your peers.
Absolutely. And the thing is that all these guys are really good at marketing, right? They're really good at marketing. They're really good at sales and selling you the dream. And, if anybody that's ever started a business, you kind of, people typically don't build the thing before they've sold it. So you kind of, I mean, you have to be on your guard a lot of people that haven't really built the thing and they're trying to sell you this solution. But one, they don't have enough context with you. And two, they really haven't done the thing yet. So there's a common issue that we have today is people, because it's so easy to just start promoting something on Instagram or YouTube or whatever, right? And it's easy to promote it, but it's when it comes down to actually doing it, you don't want to be caught off guard with trusting somebody that actually doesn't have the right abilities, right? They maybe have good intentions, but the abilities they're still learning.
There are a couple of points that I want to tap on based on what you just said. So since you made some names, I want to bring some other names, which is, I'm now going around giving my new venture I'm trying to launch, the research I'm doing and the consulting job I'm doing with other companies. I'm studying a lot of these new tools, new things coming up, new shiny objects coming up. And if you go on their website, you can start to recognize already those ones were been done in 1 day or 5 hours using Lovable. And when you start clicking around and say, okay, I want to read the term and conditions, boom, it doesn't, there is no term and conditions, privacy policy. And you start seeing that things has been rushed through just to catch the wave, just to become maybe the idea is great, but even if your window to the world is not tied up and clean up and ready to go, it shows that maybe you're still working on the backstage of it to make it work for real. And that's something that I've been seeing a lot. And people should pay attention to it. It should not be rushed through buying the first thing that is popping by just for the sake of it, because otherwise you risk to be locked in for X amount of time and is not really going to solve your problem. It's not really going to provide you a solution.
Yeah. No, I spend a bit of time on LinkedIn with networking and posting and creating content. I'm a fairly sizable content creator at this point. And one of the things that when you read everybody else's content that they're putting out, well, before when you first started and you're reading it, it's like, oh wow, this guy's they all got really good points, and then all of a sudden you start realizing that they're just using GPT. Like almost everybody on LinkedIn, it's pretty much just AI garbage, and they're just
Automated.
regurgitating the same virtual signaling methods of it's not this, it's that. It's just the same platitudes. It's the same. You're seeing the same M dashes everywhere. Nobody wrote with M dashes before GPT started putting them into posts, and now all of a sudden it's like you recognize it's like, oh my gosh, come on, man, like try a little harder. But it's also really, we're seeing a really weird shift, which is people don't want to see people want to create connections with actual humans, and humans are flawed. And so it's almost like you have to now, before you tried to be really polished, not because before AI, but now it's actually like, hey, how do I make this a little more raw to show me? And that's been one of my challenges as a content creator and thought leaders. Like, how do I show myself in a
Differentiate yourself.
yeah, how do I show myself as a professional, but yet still show that I'm being authentic and human on these platforms that are just full of AI garbage? What is your take on this?
So that's a very nice question. I think we in our another discussion we had, we discussed about this. So this is my opinion. So take it with white gloves or with very carefully. Okay. So there are two big trends that are going to happen for sure. Given that the pool now is full of many people are swimming in the pool, so you cannot really swim well. As a former professional swimmer, is it's the analogy of the pool is my analogy. Okay, so how do you differentiate yourself? There are going to be two main things. The first one is you connect the people again. So you will see that AI will automate most of what is automated. It can be automated, actually. It will happen in the next 2, 3, 5 years, 10 years. You will see that more and more things are going to be replaced by a bot, okay? An automatic workflow that is going to happen is going to make things for you, okay? So all of a sudden, the big trend is going to be bringing people together, because AI will not be able to bring again people together, and the social connection of Alex, Beto, Marco, David, Marta, whoever. Okay. So all of a sudden, the emotions and the empathy and the social connection that has been a bit scattering around right now, also in the last 10, 15 years, with everybody going to the net, with the social media, all of a sudden we are much more virtual than real. I think the AI wave is going to bring people back together physically, even though it sounds very dichotomy with compared to what's happening. That's point number one. And the point number two is the orchestration. So someone or something that is going to be able to put together an entire value production chain. Okay. So if you're able to show the end to end of solving a problem or proposing a content that is really covering not just a little niche, not just a little solution or little problem or a little pain you have, but it's the entire flow. Okay, that's gonna be the new so that what used to be named in tech the platform idea that was completely lost and gone 5, 6 years ago, as we entered COVID, because with COVID everybody went to the net, everything was virtual, so everybody tried to build a little solution to a problem. So you had these many solutions available, but nothing were orchestrating all of that. All of a sudden now, with AI, since those workflows are much easier to replicate, you will see that only those that are able to become orchestrate or put together things are gonna survive this wave. And similar thing is gonna be for content. Alex, I think you do a very nice job already of trying to orchestrate and go the hand to end from a business perspective on how to revolutionize and digitalize the companies. You have your space now. That's just for you. But in general, you fit on the second category of you're trying to orchestrate, you're trying to create that content orchestration layer that is going to be able for people to say, okay, I can follow this guy end to end. because he's offered me the entire portfolio of things. He knows what, and if he doesn't know, he can bring in someone, he knows someone else. So, you are generating that orchestration layer that not everybody is capable to see and is visible for them to perform on.
I appreciate that. I'll give you some more. I'll give you my thoughts on what you just said, because you
Please.
said two great points. Is that one, live events, I think, are going to be huge going forward, because you're right. People are craving connection. And I put on a live event, back last year. I was in the exit and succession planning space, right? And I hosted my own live event in Northern Arizona. And we did the whole bit. We had speakers, we had gift bags, we had amazing lineup, we had great staff. It was a really professional event. And the feedback was, we need more of this. Basically, everybody said, yes, like this was amazing. And what made it amazing was the in person. You can't replace physical touch. You can't do it. And no matter how fancy your AI thing is, no matter how professional it is, you will never be able to replace human connection. And I think that's going to be a big thing going forward. I could see the sales role basically is just a relationship builder, right? That's it. That's what sales is going to turn into. Is just somebody that they can talk to. The sales rep job is going to be so important, because they're going to actually, this customer success mentality of, these people need a human. They don't want to talk to a robot. They want to talk to a human and establish a connection on, hey, how are your kids doing? Hey, are they on the high school football team? What position they play? Like, this human to human connection is going to be so big. And in an AI world, it's going to be even more important going forward. And then the second point that you had, I think, is solid. It's this, the idea of a platform, or the idea of an ecosystem, is going to be so important, because I think anybody that's got a publicly traded tech stock right now with all these different big platforms, I don't know. I mean, not financial advice, but I would be shorting all of them because AI is going to make them totally irrelevant. You don't need a HubSpot. You don't need a Salesforce. You don't need a, fill in the blank with your big tech companies anymore. You don't need those guys anymore. And I was having this conversation yesterday with somebody when we were talking about, the ability to compete, for the lower guys to compete with these big guys that can spend $250,000, $500,000, $1 million on these big tech platforms. They don't need that spend anymore to be able to look like them and operate like them anymore. They can, with a very well-crafted AI strategy, they're now able to perform like the bigger guys. So tech companies are going to get totally shaken. And I think they've already started to see that writing on the wall, which is why they're all trying to say that they're AI platforms now, as they're all shifting to an AI native thing. It's really the people in your organization are what's going to make your organization special, no matter what. And building the tools and the systems and the processes around those personalities are going to be it's going to be super important going forward. So those are the 2 points I wanted to kind of share and kind of support you on what you were talking about, because I agree 100%.
So it's, people are going to be like, now there is a chance where you can, with the same number of people, you can produce and generate more value than ever before. If now, until now, you felt like, I'm saturated, I don't know what else. Now you very cheaply still, is still very accessible. You can access information and data that before you didn't have, or it took you so long. So you would hire a new person, hire a new service, get a new thing. All of a sudden, everything is on your keyboard. Everything is few clicks away. And so you can augment your reach out, you can augment your value creation process using the same amount of people, the same quality people that you have been hiring and you have been having so far. So it's just a matter of really find the key to make it happen. So having a clear beat, like we said at the beginning, having the right understanding what's the real needs you have. So finding the right tech stack, and then all of a sudden say, okay, now let's put the right agents in place or the right processes in place to make it happen with alignment of all the heads. So I think those are all the points that we discussed so far that are hyper critical in this moment.
Absolutely. So this is where everybody needs to be paying attention to AI and AI first initiatives. And I think too, like bigger guys, bigger companies that have gotten used to being the big guy on the block are going to have to be seriously looking at efficiency, not just trying to say, well, what can AI do for me? No, no, no. They're going to be needed that now all of a sudden, those small guys that they were like not even paying attention to, now they actually have a chance to really take some market share from these big guys. And if they're not paying attention, they're going to go out of business because they're not going to be able to compete with those guys that have a quarter or a fraction of their size. It big shakeups coming in the marketplace. Big shakeups.
And I've been talking to people around the space, and they are all there are some of them reacting like we wait and see, and some giants are doing the same thing. We wait and see. Some of them are completely they jumped, they took a direction, and they are running into it. So the dynamic you just said is gonna happen pretty soon. Just imagine this. Think about how Claude versus OpenAI, the competition is going. Claude is going very vertical, very deep on quality. OpenAI is going very horizontal on critical mass. It wants just to get. It wants to be. They want to be the first one in the market, right? But if and I've been ping ponging constantly those two for the last 12 months, and I can see how Claude is becoming more and more an operating system on top of our operating systems that is really able to connect all the processes, all the thinking, and having that kind of basic structure to then an organization can start using and grow on. It's not to do an advertisement for Claude. It's just that the different way as well are the two companies that started this avalanche of new things happening in AI. They took two different directions. And I'm very, very curious to see in the next 12 months, which is very unpredictable, looking at the speed of how things are going to get out, how this new OS actually is going to be looking. I'm extremely curious to see Q1, Q2 next year, how all of us are going to be working with this new set. Because honestly, the way all this wave, and so OpenAI, Claude, but Palantir and others, the way they came in is going to be very, very disruptive for a lot of businesses and companies in positive, negative way. But and companies, I can understand, and companies don't know where to stand right now. They want to sit and wait. There is a big risk if you just sit and wait. That, as you said, there can be a very smaller, tiny, much leaner but smart maybe company that is going to go and come and eat part of the market shares there.
I wrote an article, a LinkedIn article last week. I talked about this a little bit, where the big companies are starting to spend big dollars on trying to figure this out. Like you're saying, Anthropic, which is the parent company of Claude, right? And a year ago, I think they had like 12 companies giving them $1 million for a subscription service, right? To their top of the line widgets, right? Then as of the start of this year in January, that was up to 500 companies or 500 entities. And then by the end of by the end of February, not even the end of Q1, that had doubled again to 1,000. So it's like, and that's 1,000 companies giving them $1 million or more for a subscription. So you could see how fast the big guys are starting to really pay attention. And then I saw yesterday on LinkedIn News that Anthropic just started its own integration company. I don't know if you saw that or not, but they started a company on AI integration service specifically for private equity backed companies.
Yes.
They're not going to coming down to the middle and lower markets. They are only focused on private equity backed companies that are looking to integrate AI strategy into their business. So I think, again, everybody's paying attention to the bigger guys, and the middle markets and the lower markets are they're basically, open season, right? Whatever, you guys can figure it out on your own. So I'm glad that there's people like you stepping up into that arena to help solid businesses understand this adoption curve, because people need to be paying attention everywhere, because big money and big guys, big players are taking this seriously. Not all of them, but there's enough of them taking it seriously that everybody needs to be paying attention.
And a point on adoption that you just said, which is Anthropic has launched their own economic lab. So if anyone watching this and listening to this goes to Anthropic Economics, you will be able to access how many people are adopting AI right now. And this is done across the world. You can zoom to your city, you can zoom to your country. In the States, you can see each of the state that is how much is the adoption, and you will see that is right now is it moved from January to April from 3 to 4.8%. So there is still a huge amount of people that are not scratching the surface neither. And you can drill down and you can check which are the jobs, or which are the departments that are using the most. And you will see that the highest adoption is, of course, in IT. So all of a sudden, those IT guys that most of the time were cornered somewhere in the organization, all of a sudden coming out of the carbon, in a sense, and becoming the new heroes, because, of course, they're the ones who understand the most or the better what's happening behind the scene. But there is still a huge uncovered market and space and departments in the organizations and processes where we can have an implementation. So we're just literally scratching the surface of what we can do. So there is an opportunity for all of us to really drive the adoption in our organizations or whatever we're doing. And it's nothing bad. AI or no AI is like the mobile phone, is like the car, is like it happened. It's already passed. It's like it's there. It's just how fast you want to adjust, how fast you're going to run, and how fast you want to grow with it. Because at the end of the day, is a matter of growth, is a matter of progress. So it's like it's critical right now to really get the hands dirty, understand how best we can adopt the AI tool we have out there.
I think there's also the case studies, right, of when computers first came into the marketplace, and there was like this 10-year gap of when computers started. Correct me if I'm wrong. My math, my history is going to be a little off here, but call it the 80s, right? So it was like in the 80s to like
78 was the first personal computer.
there you go. So 78 to like call it 88 or 90, right? There was this 10-year gap in which computers were being brought to the marketplace, and companies were buying them. They were buying them, buying them, buying them, but nobody was seeing real efficiency gains. And then all of a sudden, after 10 years of companies having computers, it was like a switch got turned on, and then all of a sudden, companies
Boom.
that were great with computers were just took off like a rocket, and then everybody else just disappeared and they went out of business because it was they like the efficiency gain. There was this period of introduction where people were learning how to use this new tool, and then all of a sudden there was like the switch went off, and like, yes, everybody, the people that know how to use this tool understand how to leverage it, and that's a big difference. Having a tool is different than leveraging the tool.
Correct.
So this is where we're at right now with AI. AI has been out for a few years now, call it 2-3 years, like really starting to get into the marketplace, into the public marketplace. Oh, will it go faster than a decade? I think so. I think 5 years is, I think, half life, right? It's going to go, I think in 5 years from now, it's going to be completely different because of the speed at which they're getting better all the time. So all that to say, like, people need to take this seriously. I don't know how many times we could say this on this episode, but it's like people need to be taking this seriously, especially if you're a business owner. If you're an employee, you need to take it seriously to understand how to use the tool. But if you're an employer, you need to understand how to leverage the tool. So this is going to separate the winners and the losers within 5 years. I think 2 years, people that don't have an AI first initiative are going to be struggling. within 5 years, I think most of them are going to be out of business.
And a very similar situation happened with the e-commerce. How many new companies and how many companies survived and didn't survive because of e-commerce? Skyrocket because of e-commerce in the early 2000 years, right? So it's a very cyclical breakthrough of innovation that it's the right time now to pick up.
Absolutely. And yeah, to further your point on the .com bubble, there was every company was like pets.com, right? Everything, everybody remember the pet.com series, like the .com craze. And that's where we're at right now is this massive AI, AI. Everything instead of .com, it's .ai now, right? Everybody's .ai. And but right after like the .com bubble was the crash, right? In which the economy crashed. But the companies that were the most solid, like Amazon came out of it. You know what I mean? Like all the big winners came out of the fire of the boom bust. But then after the bust, the big players stuck around.
Yeah.
So that's I think is gonna I think that's gonna play out very similarly here in the next couple of years. We're gonna have this AI boom followed by a major bust. But then the companies that really are solid and understand and have the right leadership, forward thinking to use their AI, those are going to be the ones that come out of this and become the next Amazons. We're going to be looking at the next company become the next Amazon.
Finger crossed, we're gonna be there.
Fingers crossed. Fingers. We're all here. There's the market is the market, but I think that there's definitely a big shakeup coming.
Yes.
So talk to me a little bit about in your previous life. You've worked on multiple different continents. You've done go-to-market strategies on multiple different continents. We're talking about AI adoption here. So in a similar vein here, in a similar tone, talk to us about what are the principles from a go-to-market strategies perspective that allow and help and facilitate this adoption of AI?
Well, that's a very nice question. Let me think about this. What you cannot the principle is you cannot apply across the world the same strategy, the same initiatives, because culturally speaking, we're all different. And that's the nicest part of being this on this earth is that we're all different. So certain region with others are more reticent or more prone to really accept certain type of push compared to others. So the cultural elements needs to be respected. That sometimes is bypassed, or you think that you can apply the same type of strategy here in the States to in Europe or in Southeast Asia or in North Asia or in ANZ. That's the point number one. The tools most probably can be the same, or maybe you have already in each market, you have already a player that is already doing something similar to what you have been using so far. So the second element is you need to watch out and check before you enter somewhere to what's the market dynamics and what the tool in place or the players in place that can help you facilitate that. And the third is the market dynamic itself. So there are certain countries where you cannot be loud and bold, others where you need to be very specific. So in using AI will be able to and will enable you to adjust yourself on each market. But again, it goes back to our original point of you need to make sure you know how the market is functioning, which are the dynamics, how people like to buy. Those things will not change. So I can really increase and fast track the effect of entering a market or do the first step into a market. But the basic principle of the culture, the dynamics, and who is playing already in their garden, those will not change.
That's fascinating. And I appreciate you saying that because a lot of times we get in our little bubble and especially, forget the country as a whole, but just your little micro bubble of where you live, your 10 square mile radius just around you. We all tend to think that everybody thinks like this. And then you start traveling, my wife and I were full-time RVers. So we've been traveling this country. And I can tell you, most of this country does not think like suburbia Fort Lauderdale. I could tell you that right now. Most of this country is very, very different. And to your point, though, I feel like that's a strength if you leverage that correctly. And I think it's a real strength for a country to have multiple different ways of looking at the same issues. But now when you add the cultural aspect to it of traveling to multiple different countries, and now you have different dynamics at play. You have different religions, you have different thought patterns, you have different traditions. So there's a lot of different ways that people like to be communicated with. And I think this is just kind of all funnels back towards one of the original points that we were talking about, which is communication and thought leadership with communication. How do you translate your thought and communicate it clearly to another person so that they understand it? It's more about them than it is about you. Your job is to make sure that the knowledge or the thing that you're trying to communicate is being communicated so that the person can receive it. And I think that's a hard skill, especially when you're talking about multiple countries with different backgrounds and cultures,
Different languages,
different
different,
language.
a past and history. It's it's the way people are used to be asked. They use how people are used to be buying things. How people are used to raise a problem, explicitly saying, "I have an issue." There are countries where they don't say I have an issue. They tell you many other things, but don't say I have a problem. All of a sudden you say, "But you have a problem." No, I don't have a problem. That's where it's I cannot yet can help you to visualize those, can help you to construct and build something around that, and will not be able to interpret it that the way you want. You need to be there. You need to understand that. You need to read that correctly.
Absolutely. And how did you see this the communication, like the communications issue? Because you've done this type of strategy across 4 continents, totally different. What were some of the similarities between people and cultures and how they communicated, and what were also the main differences?
Very good point. Very simply, problems are very similar. The way you people express it, they are totally different. Knowing and studying, there are a few books and few articles very interesting to read about, understanding in each culture how they are communicating things. And we go back to your point at the beginning of this conversation, the communication across the heads, it's critical in businesses. And similarly, when you want to approach a new market, when you want to approach a new country, people don't talk the way you're used to talk. People don't talk and speak and express things the way you think you have been doing so far. So if your unit of measure is one, everybody for everybody else is one. It's not true. Or going back to the cup, this cup is yellow today. It's not for them. Maybe it's red, and it needs to be red. Being able to be like stop and think and stop and listen is the cultural exercise to do every time you want to try to enter. The trick is, and the solution as well, to me was to go there, visit, and listen. Ask the right questions and listen. Ask the right questions and listen because the problems are very similar. The world is one world. We are all going in the same direction and turning the same way. It's just that the way we've been growing up is different. We communicate. I still speak a broken English, and I'm not an English mother tongue, right? But I try to get along. I try to adjust my English with the right audience I have in front of me based on who I'm talking to. But the first thing I do every time I move somewhere, and this is my 11th country, is I stay quiet and listen. It's okay. I ask the question, try to understand the psychology or try to understand the dynamic, the cultural dynamics, and so the business dynamics of how things happen in these countries. I'm open to it. I absorb and I try to adjust myself and the company I work with for. So and that's it. So I hope one day all this knowledge is gonna transform into something interesting and helpful for people that like me has been moving around the world. And every time they enter a new market or enter a new country, they still have the same issues and it's very fragmented and it's very broken up and there is nobody there to help you. So I hope one day I'm able to convolute everything and put everything in one single spot.
I like how you say that everybody has the same problems. I think that's powerful because again, a lot of times we think of Germans or we think Japanese, or we
Italians,
think
yeah, whatever.
like Italians, whatever, right? You think, oh, they're just so different. It's like, no, they still have families, they still have kids, they still have sports, they still have music, they still have food, like they still need a place to sleep. They have a home, they have a community. There's so much that this world has in common as humans. And I feel like we miss that a lot. But I like how you're saying like the way they express themselves is always different. The way they express or describe the problem set is different. And the nuance of communication is understanding and connecting the dots of this person says this, they're actually meaning this, right? This is the root problem that they're facing. So how do I attack that root problem? I think that I think that's really solid point. I give you a story. I'll give you a sea story. I was sailing as chief mate overseas. I was in the Med actually, and I was in Sicily, believe it or not. And it was a military cargo. So military cargoes work differently than commercial cargoes because the traditional regulations kind of go out the window a little bit. Not completely, but the goal is the same. So I'm pulling into this to Sicily in this Italian port and trying to load it was a load of jet fuel. And the dock guys, the guy my counterparts on the shore spoke no English, none whatsoever. Like commercial world, that's grounds for you're not loading the ship. If you can't communicate, like you can't load the ship. They're giving me all the documents are all in Italian. I'm like looking at this, I'm like, what? So we ended up fragmenting this together because the problem was the same. It was take the jet fuel in their tanks and put it in my ship. That was the problem set. That was the same problem. We understood fundamentally what we were trying to do, and we loaded the ship. Oh, we loaded the ship, we hooked it up. Like everybody knew exactly what they were supposed to do because we've done it so many times. But the way that they were expressing the problem of loading was different. And we still were able to figure it out and communicate and like stop. I mean, if this happens, that means you shut down. Like everybody understood
I
with
can clearly picture the
English. Yeah,
situation.
with pictures, and it was more picture based and it was more expressive based, and they all understood. But it was like, but the fundamentals didn't change, but the way they expressed it did. So I feel like that was applicable sea story from my past, and maybe a little more on point since it was in Italy. So it was good times for sure. So how do you? So you've traveled so much, and this is more of a personal question for me. 11 different countries. uh, you have a family, right? You have kids. How has your family kind of adapted to this broad lifestyle, right? Of multiple different cultures. Like how have they
So,
done it? And I'm asking this because I'm a little bit more selfishly because I've been traveling just in the United States for the last few years. My wife and I eventually would really love to be able to travel internationally. And we're kind of trying to figure out a lot of logistics and is this the right move for us? So I'm asking very selfishly right now. But
uh,
how has that experience been for you?
so I would break this down into my original family. So my parents, they're still where I belong to, where I come from in Italy. And the rest of my family, I just met them along the way. And we have a lot of similarities. I want to say is part of the contract, in a sense of a social contract with my wife in this case. And then my son is born traveling. So that's it. He traveled 2 months. He traveled to Argentina at 4 months. He traveled to Europe 6 months for 3 months. So he's gonna get used to it. But with my wife in particular, right now, is just it was a social contract we had together. Like we met traveling. We met already outside our own countries. We both have open souls, and that's why I think we was a big match for us. And now it definitely is becoming our way of living in a sense. Now, the funny thing is, given that we met so many people, every time now where we move, we for sure know someone. So all of a sudden, when we arrive somewhere, it's not anymore, it's a brand new country. No, for sure there will be one step connection, one friend away that we know someone for sure. Either he's a friend of us or he's a friend of a friend, 100%. It means that the capillarity, let's say now, of the network in a sense is very, very high. And that's going to help you wherever you go because all of a sudden you feel less home. Even though you like the experience of going out and being by yourself, that's how we've been managing so far. Things will change when maybe we need our son to go to school, if we want to bring him to one unique school and get him the right what we lived like for 10 years, the same friends, same people, same location. But I think that will not change the fact that whenever there is an opportunity to move out, to go somewhere else, or to have breaking days where, or maybe welcoming people from outside that make him experience the same thing we experience.
Okay, that's helpful. No, that's helpful. And for my wife and I, we always decided that we were going to homeschool our kids anyway. So I wasn't,
I
so
always loved this from you. You remember that the first time we spoken, I asked you like, please teach me because, you know, how does it work?
yeah, I'll tell you, this morning was special because we got up and our two oldest, who's 10, who's going to be 11 next month, and then our 9-year old, they were at the table this morning already doing math. I'm like, and we got up at, we were getting up this morning and we walked in at 7 o'clock, right? So they're like already working. I'm like, and something is finally working. That was awesome to see. So super great kids. I think anybody that is willing to do the work into homeschooling, I think it's a fantastic way of making sure that your kids are being educated, not indoctrinated. And this is it's quite powerful. It's a powerful thing, and it also brings you closer together as a family because you are investing so much more of your time into them. You're just building a relationship naturally. So anybody that can and is willing, I think it's a great system, but it is a lot of work and it's not for everybody. I wouldn't say it's for everybody.
My wife wished to, as I told you the first time, I have no idea yet. Like, I don't know how it works. So it's something that definitely I need to plunge myself into.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure we're going to have many more conversations around it
Yes.
going forward, Beto. So with that, I feel like this is a good time to kind of wrap up this segment because I feel like this has been really solid. We've covered a lot of ground. Big thing around AI, leadership, communication. That is the future. Learn how to lead through clear communication, and your AI strategy is going to follow that communication clarity. So, but Beto, where can people find you?
Well, they can find me on LinkedIn. They can find me here in Miami, and they can find me in my blog, Sunrise Whispers. And otherwise, just watch out because something new is going to happen.
I love it. Something new is happening. Pay attention. So, all of the links to his socials and to his sites are going to be in the description below. If you want to connect to Beto, make sure that you are clicking those links and getting in touch with him. He's a fantastic guy. This has been a great conversation. And thanks so much for
Alex,
being our
thank
guest.
you, and good luck for everything. And good luck, everybody.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye bye.